Okay, well, actually, while I'm waiting for people to get in, could I have Chet Stencil and Jeff Mitchell from here, Norm Bergeron and Dan Carpenter from the middle? Would you all come up? Ellen Ethia, Ken Frost. Please get up, come up and get sworn in. Ladies and gentlemen, could you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we get to the reports, since this is the first town meeting since the last election, we obviously have some new town meeting members there. Now, the rules of town meeting are posted, in the handbook for town meeting is posted online. But there are 3 rules that I wish to bring to the attention of new town meeting members this evening. The hallmark of town meeting is civility. We address articles, proposals, and principles. We don't address one another. If you wish to be recognized, do not shout out. Do not come up to the microphone. Stay at your seat, raise your hand, and I will recognize you. On any given article, you may speak twice, only twice, and the second time is after other members have spoken once. And now, Article 1. To hear the report of the Finance Committee, other town offices and committees, or act on anything relative thereto. Mr. Hussey.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Chief, can you hear me? We're good? Okay. I'll try that one more time. Good evening. And actually, before I begin, Jesus. Respectfully submitted, Kevin Hussey. No, I'm sorry. Sorry. Actually, I would like to take a moment to thank our town clerk for getting in touch with Major League Baseball and working the World Series games around our meeting tonight. So everything seems to be going well, except maybe this microphone. Anyways, to the Finance Committee report. When we last met in May for our town meeting, we approved a $54.3 million budget, and this included $197,000 in excess funds available, which stayed uncommitted, awaiting finalization of the state budget. In the 5 months since that annual town meeting, funding for the 2014 budget from Beacon Hill and several other sources have been finalized. I will defer to CFO Kazanovich's presentation with highlights and modifications to the 2014 budget and its effect on our taxes. Approval of all warrant articles before you tonight will result in a 2014 budget, and this is including CIP, totaling $55.1 million, an increase of 1.4% over the 2014 budget approved last May, and a 3.3% increase over the fiscal 2013 budget. Once again, our CFO will go into much more detail on that. And before we get to the Finance Committee recommendations for the warrant articles, I would like to remind you, and honestly every fall I've gone back to 2011 and I've been saying the same things, we do have certain economic storm clouds on the horizon with significant implications on future funding from the state and federal level that need to be acknowledged. Once again, unemployment has been rising in the state. In fact, 2 years ago, if my numbers are correct, they were at 6%. The unemployment rate now in the state is 7.2%. I know more people are actually looking for work, but it's still quite a big increase, and we're actually now equal to the federal level at 7.2% unemployment. In addition, the federal government continues to operate under a temporary budget and debt ceiling, which will certainly have detrimental effects on our state and local economies should there be another impasse in the first quarter of 2014. And all expectations are they just can't get anything decided in Washington. Highlights of the 2014 revised town budget include increases of $50,000 and $25,000 in the snow and ice removal and road reconstruction accounts, a reduction of $284,000 in group health insurance costs, a $300,000 appropriation to the stabilization fund, and long overdue modifications to the CIP to address capital improvement needs at the library. Regarding the warrant articles, the Finance Committee recommendations include the following positions. Articles 2 through 22, we recommend approval. Article 23 and 24, we defer to the petitioner. And Article 25, we voted to postpone indefinitely. A couple of additional comments on certain warrant articles. Article 2, adjustments addressed several changes to the operating budget that weren't finalized at the time of the annual town meeting, resulting in an aggregate decrease in the operating budget. I'll repeat that, an aggregate decrease in the operating budget of approximately $223,000. And that's primarily due to lower than anticipated group insurance costs and refinancing approximately $186,000 in bond payments. Article 6 from the school committee is responding to an unfunded mandate for new equipment as Massachusetts contemplates moves from MCAS testing to the national standing testing. And Dr. Brunel, I'm sure, will have more to say on that. Article 8 addresses the equivalent of an emergency windows repair and replacement to our 13-year-old police station. The Finance Committee, in our last meeting, actually requested town administration to discuss an evaluation of the building, determine future financial investments if they may be necessarily to basically maintain the building properly. There's definitely some concern on that, and we're going to be looking into that further just to avoid surprises like this one. Articles 9 and 10 from the Fire Department involving CIP, the beginning of a strategy to financially address the replacement of the tower truck in the near future, and that could be as many as 5 years out. But it's a very expensive piece of equipment with a value estimated approaching $1 million. Article 12 addresses public safety and homeland security requirements for appropriate two-way radio equipment. Article 21 reprioritizes nearly $250,000 in CIP funds that have already been authorized for upgrades and roof and window replacement at the Auburn Public Library, long overdue. Article 25 was voted to be postponed due to recently received information regarding which board approval is required for the town manager to proceed with a long-term RFP lease process. Regarding the remaining articles, they are either self-explanatory or I would prefer to defer to the petitioner for additional explanations and comments. Respectfully submitted, Kevin Hussey, Chair of the Finance Committee, Ian Kavanaugh, Vice Chair, Jim Bonafilio, Chris Haroyan, Ed Coleman, Kimberly Holstrom.
Thank you, Kevin. Ms. Goodrich?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good evening, town meeting members. I'm not going to take up a lot of your time tonight. The town manager has a presentation as well as the CFO and the school superintendent. But I want to assure town meeting members tonight that we are in good fiscal health, due in part by the adoption of financial policies and practices. The Board of Selectmen enjoys a good relationship with the Finance Committee as well as the School Committee, and together we're providing support to town administration. While other communities are seeking overrides to support their operating budgets and have made cuts in critical services, Auburn has maintained and even expanded its level of services. With that, the Board of Selectmen take the following positions. Articles 1 through 5, the Board of Selectmen voted 5-0 to recommend approval. Article 6, the Board of Selectmen voted 4-1 to recommend approval. Articles 17 through 18, the Board of Selectmen voted 5-0 to recommend approval. The Board of Selectmen voted on Article 19 and voted 5-0 to recommend approval. Articles 20 and 22, 5-0 to recommend approval. Article 23, the Board of Selectmen voted 5-0 to defer to the petitioner. Articles 24 and 25, the Board of Selectmen voted 5-0 to recommend approval. Submitted by Doreen Goodrich, Chairman, Robert D. Grossman, Vice Chairman, Stephen Simonian, Denise Brotherton, and Ken Holstrom. Thank you and have a good town meeting.
Thank you, Doreen. Are there any other committees that wish to report at this time? All right, seeing none. Ms. Jacobson.
Thank you. Good evening, town meeting members, members of the Finance Committee, the Board of Selectmen, and the School Committee, as well as welcome to our new town meeting members. I see a lot of new faces, which is great, and wishes to the town administration and the members of the public who are here. It's my pleasure to be able to give to you our twice-annual update on the town prior to you getting to the articles and voting. We want to make sure that you have the information, you see where your tax dollars have gone, and you see what we've been working on since the last town meeting. And for those of you who are new, we wanted to give you somewhat of a historical overview so that you could see some of the other things that we've been working on. Basically, you'll know we were involved in business development, communications and outreach to the public, community programs and events, economic development, emergency management, infrastructure improvements, facility management. We maintain fiscal responsibility and stability. We have a new fleet maintenance department, plenty of green initiatives, grantsmanship, legislative and policy advocacy, public health and safety, and training and certifications to make sure that our employees are up to speed on what they need to have to keep the public safe. Just a brief historical overview, and Ed Kezanovich, our CFO and Assistant Town Manager, will go through the details for you, but just want to give you a snapshot in history of the last couple of years. This is a 3-year, actually 4-year, from FY11 through now, and this would include tonight's town meeting articles. Just to briefly show you that we've had an increase in our total infrastructure investment, we've had an increase in funding for local roads, we've had an increase in our stabilization fund, increase in our free cash. We established and increased our deposits into the OPEB fund. We have an increase in our excess levy capacity. And we have a decrease in total legal expenditures over the periods of 1, 3, and 5 years. Specifically, over the 5-year period, we've seen a decrease of 57.28%. This is primarily due to the fact that this comes in the area of labor council. We have 2 different types of council. We have town council. Town council Bob Hannigan is here with us this evening. We have town council and we have labor council. We've seen a decrease in the labor council costs because primarily the town administration has been doing all of its collective bargaining and negotiating. So we did not have to engage labor council to do that this year. And we'll get into that a little bit more. And we've also taken on, through the reorganization, the responsibility for human resources. And because of that, we've been able to cut down significantly on the legal costs. For those of you who were here in May, wanted to bring a couple of things to your attention that we've been able to do. We've completed negotiations with 16, both town and school bargaining units for health insurance reform. And you'll see more information on that after, but it's approximately $563,000 annual savings going forward on health care. We have completed negotiations with 10 of the 11 bargaining units on the municipal side. We are still in negotiations with one. The others, we have come to agreement and have ratification on 9 of those 10. We've prepared memorandums of agreement for those bargaining units. Again, we're doing this internally as opposed to doing this through Labor Council in an effort to keep the cost down on the labor. We've completed the purchase of the land from the Masonic Lodge for the middle school project, which happened after the last town meeting and after the town vote. We completed the ascertainment process and executed an agreement with Charter Communications. We issued an RFP for the Scavone property, which is part of our work on trying to bring properties back on the tax rolls and utilize them again. I would say that we did not get any bids on the Scavone property, so we're going to be revisiting that RFP and putting it out again. We executed an agreement just this week with CM Dart, which is Essential Mass. Let me see. Central Mass, it is basically, it's an organization that works with emergency management groups to make sure that our Central Mass Disaster Animal Recovery Team, and they work with towns in an emergency to make sure that our shelters can take animals, and if our shelters can't take animals, we make sure we have a place for our animals. This is critical because, as we know from history with Hurricane Katrina, many people stayed in their homes and didn't survive because they wouldn't leave their pets. So we want to make sure if we ever have a catastrophe or an emergency here that we have an ability to accommodate people with their pets. We've also launched a social media initiative. We finally launched a Facebook page and a Twitter page. We've executed another net metering credit agreement that town meeting approved for us to enter into. We began implementation in the past year, so this is more for those who are new members. We've begun implementation of our Green Communities energy saving programs. We had a $165,000 grant to implement some changes in our schools and municipal buildings. We completed a wind turbine feasibility study. We had an exciting Independence Day event this year that had almost 5,000 people at the new Pappas Center. We've applied for and secured grants. We've completed and revised a new personnel policy manual. We've completed our internal review of all the administrative bylaws, and we'll be working now to work with the bylaw committee to get those finalized and hopefully bring them to a special town meeting later this winter. We've implemented our facility management and fleet maintenance units, and we've created and implemented new community events and created new business development brochures. Just wanted to show you a couple things. Fleet maintenance unit, the importance of this is they are now working within DPW to maintain both of our fire, our DPW, and our police vehicles. So we're saving money. We're doing this internally now. The new facility management unit is underway, and you can see just outside here the new press box that was constructed. And again, I want to point out the reason that this is such a good thing for the town is that we're able to save money on the capital improvements that we're able to do. We don't necessarily have to go out to bid anymore. We can do them internally, and we should be able to start working off of our CIP list. The before and after on the reconstructed salt shed at DPW, they did a great job, and they built a new shed at Randall Field. These are just some of the projects that facility management has taken on in less than a year since it's been implemented. We continue to make sure that our public safety personnel are trained, police and fire, dive teams, rescue teams, again, to ensure the public safety. The Department of Public Works, you can see them out there. We've invested heavily in our roads. We continue to invest. I believe we've invested 25% more in the last couple of years. We are maintaining our parks, our playgrounds, our cemeteries. We're planting trees, maintaining our fields, and again, doing road work that you can see all over town. Communications and outreach, we've developed a number of systems to make sure that we're able to bring information to the public. It's critical that the public, the residents, and the businesses understand what we're doing, when we're doing it, and why we're doing it. So we've done a number of different things to make sure that we get information into the hands. We have a quarterly newsletter, Code Red, which if you haven't signed up, please do. We have a local radio station that we use in emergencies now, local radio 1610 AM. We work through local media. We've enhanced our website, and we have a public service announcement. So we're really working hard on the communications aspect. And then we did launch a Facebook page. If you haven't liked us, please visit it. It's a good site. And we're directly linked to a Twitter account, so we can also reach people through there. What we've noticed through this is clearly we're checking the demographics on it. We're reaching a whole different demographic population in town that we were not reaching before. So it's great. We're really spreading into the community, into different ages of the population. Emergency management also has a Facebook page. Fire department has a Facebook page, and we have a social media policy. brief update on grants. We, in the last 3 years, almost 3 years, we've applied for 41 grants for the town of Auburn, about $5.7 million total in grants that we've been seeking. We've been awarded 27 of them, 10 of them are still pending, 4 were denied. The total amount awarded to us is $373,649. Much of those grants are in the form of infrastructure improvements, which tend to be in the $1 to $2, even $2.5 million range, which is why that number is so high. We've also been an applicant on 5 regional applications, totaling $968,000. 3 were awarded, 2 are pending, and those are providing many different services, including a stormwater management program. Some of the equipment that we've been able to purchase, you may see around town, this is all purchased with grant funding. This is a debris removal trailer that is shared with other communities. It gives us the ability to go in after storms and clear roadways and clear power lines, as well as working with, it is available to Leicester, Millbury, and Sutton, but it's housed in Auburn. We have an emergency management trailer that we can now take, and it's also equipped with television, so in an emergency, we can make sure that we can broadcast to the public. We have another light, you can see the tall light fixture, which you put out on the highway when there are accidents. We received a grant to renovate a Civil War memorial. We have, again, the Special Operations Unit, and that's the inside of the new debris removal trailer. So the grants are really certainly giving us a lot of equipment that we would otherwise not be able to fund, or we'd have to fund through the CIP. We continue to have community events. We had a successful series this summer. We had very unsuccessful weather. It seemed to rain every Thursday. So I'm sorry for that. Nothing we could do. Next year we may find another an alternate date. So when we have a concert planned on Thursday and it inevitably will rain, you know, you could call the forecast this summer. If it's Thursday, it was going to rain. But we did have a nice series set up, and we're going to continue to do that. We had our fireworks. We have 4th of July events. We have a fall festival, and we have also holiday events. In addition to the standard events, we had some new events in the last year. We had a tree lighting, and I just want everyone to know that today we set the date. The date will be December 6th at the fire station for this year's tree lighting event. Also, for the first time, we're going to have a holiday craft fair that will be this year on December 14th. We had a skating rink this past winter, and we included skating lessons for the kids. We had the first ever Veterans Picnic that was sponsored and put together by the Veterans Committee. We offer Zumba classes. We have a new program with our seniors, at an intergenerational program with the schools, and we offer iPad and computer lessons at the senior center, and a new program called My Senior Center, which tracks who's going to the senior center, what they could do, and it makes it easier for the seniors to find what programs are available to them. The Board of Health flu clinics are run. Again, this is health and recycling initiatives. Just a reminder, we do have a flu clinic this coming Saturday at 9 at the Senior Center, open to the public. The Board of Health puts this on every year, and we also this year for the first time had an electronics take-back event. And as usual, we have our green system, green initiatives, including yard waste pickup. In the field of economic development, we've really worked hard to attract businesses, expand existing businesses, facilitate new projects, and create jobs so that we end up with new growth and new tax growth, which Ed will be talking about. There are so many businesses that have been coming into town in the last year or year and a half. I just wanted to put a list up here without going through it all, just to show you. You'll drive around town and you'll see a lot of buildings that were vacant, and they're no longer vacant. They're starting to get filled up. They're starting to get activity. They're creating jobs. They're bringing in new revenues for us. This is just a listing of, in the last year, not even year, I believe this is more 6 months, recent approvals from the Planning Board and the ZBA. Again, more activity, more economic development activity, which obviously helps the tax base and helps the residents at the end. Public policy and advocacy, this is really important. We need to stay on top of state and federal legislation, so we make sure that we're aware of what the initiatives are that are out there, if they're going to have a positive impact on the town, a negative impact on the town, and get our voice heard. So we do provide written and verbal testimony on pending legislation or regulations. It's been a very active year on that. We participate on the municipal and regional, at the regional policy committee. We participate with CMRPC. I see Phil Joinville here. We work closely with CMRPC on their legislative initiatives. We communicate regularly with our state and federal delegation to make sure that we're aware of and prepared for any legislative initiatives that may be taken that will have some type of an impact on us. We've been very involved in testifying and making comments on legislation on mass gaming regulations, medical marijuana regulations, House 1859 is the new zoning reform law, energy bills, veterans bills, and housing bills. And we've also worked hard on developing strong strategic community partnerships. These leverage investment, they increase our resources and give us the opportunity to provide programs we might not otherwise be able to provide. It enhances our services, it has positive community impacts, and it strengthens the relationships between the business, residents, and government. Here's just one example of a strategic community partnership. This is a collaboration of the Friends of the Pappas Recreation Complex, DPW, and Home Depot to build 2 new dugouts made possible through a grant from Home Depot and a significant grant from the Friends of. We want to just make a note of some of the other partners that we've had, because some of the things that you see and experience around town are not happening necessarily because we're taking money from our tax levy. They're happening because we're developing these partnerships and we're able to fund these initiatives. We've worked with, and just in the past year, Home Depot, Friends of the Pappas Recreation, Hometown Bank, Polo Corp., the WRTA, Packagug Church, North American Martyrs, Boy Scouts, MeTech Recycling, Auburn Chamber of Commerce, and Auburn Public Schools. The things that have resulted are the new dugouts, a playground design, a Summer in the Park concert series, a shuttle service and senior vans to some of our larger events, parking availability for events, holiday lighting event, planting and cleanups, electronic recycling event, recreation programs and events, and Board of Health initiatives. So these partnerships are important. They're producing things for this community, and it's a great way to engage the business community. And our finances, we're in a very stable financial position. We've been consistent with our conservative budgeting practices. We have continued reforms for savings and efficiencies. We have a very strong reserve position, and we continue to need to do that to protect our bond rating. We've implemented financial policies. It's been almost a year since the Board of Selectmen and Finance Committee voted those policies into place. We have continued to put money into our OPEB fund, continued to grow the stabilization fund, maintained our AA3 bond rating, and we've been working very hard to invest in capital and try to do it through the tax levy as opposed to taking projects off of the CIP, so we don't have to go out to borrow for as much. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to the CFO for the continuation on a little bit more on the finances. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobson. Mr. Kazanovich?
Boy, I feel like I have to catch my breath after that presentation. I won't move as quickly as that, but I do have about half a dozen slides I'd like to share with you. I'd like to highlight some of the financial gains that we have made since we came up with a financial plan, ultimately taking those policies, formulated policies and procedures before the board, voted by the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee that are part of the operating budget today. As far as free cash is concerned, we've made some significant progress since FY10. As you can see, we went from a low of $271,000 to a current certification that just came in on October 2nd of $3.9 million, almost $4 million. Pretty impressive. That makes up approximately 7.49% of our current general fund operating revenues. As part of the policy, we had set a benchmark of 8%. We've almost hit that target. In terms of excess levy over that same period of time, we've built it up from $350,000 roughly in FY10 to a current estimated FY14 value of $2.962 million. As you can see, in FY14, based upon the budget submitted to you and that you are going to act on tonight, this makes an assumption that those articles will get approved. That means that we would be taxing at a level of 1.14% out of a potential 2.5%. It's about 45.62% of a possible 2.5%. So excess levy would grow from a current $2.4 million to $2.962 million. The year before, the tax levy required to fund our operating budget was zero. We did not use any of our excess levy of 2.5%. In FY12, we taxed at a level under 1%, 0.7840, roughly 31% of 2.5%, and the year before, a little under 1%, 0.92%. This is at a time when all other communities, and you can look around and do your research, but all other communities are taxing at a level of 2.5%. And they are still looking for 2.5 overrides. We are able to manage our operating budget using far much less than 2.5%. We are planning on continuing to do that in future year budgets as well. We were able to mitigate, and I'll show you on a secondary slide, an amount that we had earmarked for tax levy at 1.67%. We were able to use some additional new growth above and beyond an estimated $400,000 for growth on the real estate and personal property side. As part of our management policies, we applied that excess as a way to mitigate that increase. Here's the slide I was talking about. At the conclusion of the annual town meeting, we were utilizing in our budget about $582,000 of the levy. That represented about 1.67% of a possible 2.5%. We now got that down to a level of 1.14%. So we're utilizing about $397,000 out of about $871,000 available to us to use for our operating budget. Also in that amount, which is not part of the operating budget, is the assessment for Bay Path. I did receive a few calls on this. I think there was an assumption that Bay Path assessment for the new school is funded through a debt exclusion override. That failed. There was a collective vote that went before the voters comprised of all the member communities. That did pass. That was not an override vote. So we have to assume that obligation through our tax levy. Also, as part of that increase, in the financial policies, we are earmarking on an annual basis 1/10 of 2.5%. That's roughly $87,000 in the FY14 budget to our CIP plan. And it's a long-term plan that will allow us ultimately to fund 100% of our total capital needs through tax levy without borrowing money to pay for that. So ultimately, that would save the taxpayers of this community. It would be a savings because we wouldn't have to pay debt and interest on the capital that we're borrowing. In terms of the excess levy, I prepared a chart that shows the savings over that period of time. For each residential homeowner with an average assessed value of $220,000, we saved the taxpayers $660 over that period of time. For a commercial business with an average value, and these are FY14 average values that will be presented at the tax classification hearing, the average assessed value on the commercial side is about $1.1 million. We saved the commercial taxpayers about $5,300 over that period of time. And the industrial taxpayer at an average value of $1.244 million saved them roughly $6,000 over that same period of time. Our stabilization fund, also part of our financial policies, we were able to grow that from a balance of $1.2 million in FY10 to a present day value of $2.2 million. This assumes that a $300,000 request will be voted. That is part of the calculation here on this chart. That represents about 4.11% of a benchmark that we set of 5% of general fund operating revenues. Certainly we've made some major strides in addressing this over the past 3 years. This 4.11% also accounts for a withdrawal that was voted by town meeting at the annual for $325,000 for a land acquisition piece in order to get the middle school project approved. So that does account for that as well. Healthcare savings that we'd like to identify. The town manager indicated that we had some savings in the areas of healthcare as a result of some plan design changes that are allowed under the Healthcare Reform Act that we actually bargained with under 150E. Those annual savings are $569,000. There is an adjustment in Article 2 that represents roughly 6 months of that savings because the implementation date takes effect this coming January of $284,000. We also have an estimated savings in our Medicare eligibility component under healthcare. Anyone 65 years of age or older automatically go on the federal government plan. That results in a net savings of $109,000 to the town. Through collective bargaining, we managed to change our employer-employee contribution for health care. There was a grandfathering provision that grandfathered some people in at 90-10. This, over the next 3 years, will get everyone at a level of 76-24, 76 town, 24% employee for both individual and family plans. That results in a savings of $124,000 annually. And as a result of an enrollment audit that we conducted, which is now part of a mandated provision under healthcare reform, but we did it before the reform was put into place, resulted in an annual savings of $144,000. Total savings, $946,000. Relating to healthcare, our trust, we have a current equity balance in our trust fund of $5.3 million. As you can see, the trending growth since 2010 has been very healthy. We increased our trust 16.96% from 10 to 11. From 11 to 12, it grew by 28.11%. And from last fiscal year to the close of FY13, it grew by 19.08% for a present balance of almost $5.4 million. Our current claims is roughly $465,000 per month. The amount of equity as it relates to claims would put us at a ratio almost of 12-month ratio, which is very healthy. Our advisors are telling us that we should not dip into the trust until we have roughly 6 to 8 months worth of equity. We have already hit that benchmark. As a result of that, we're required to give back to the employees a portion of the trust. A portion of that is their money. They've put that into the trust as well as the town share. So through the collective bargaining, we have made a provision in years 2 and 3 of the collective bargaining agreement to give each bargaining group who have an active employee in the trust 1 holiday per year. What does that mean? That means 1 week out of the fiscal year, the employees would not be required to have a deduction towards the health insurance. Our roadway infrastructure. Town has been committed towards its roadway. We have seen a 23.32% increase from FY11. As you can see in the highlighted blocks, represents 4 components of roadway. 1 through general fund revenues, which is currently under the engineer for roadway reconstruction. Chapter 90 is highlighted in the maroon, which represents a portion of our roadway infrastructure. Drainage certainly is a component of that, as well as roadway improvement, which is funded through bond proceeds. We went from a low in FY 2011 of 1.156 to a current value of $1.4 million. Our OPEB, something new, something that is not a mandate but is required by the Government Accounting Standards Board. Is called GASB 45. This now comes into play in terms of our rating review. It is a liability relative to our active and retired employees who are on health care and are drawing a benefit from the town. We are required to do an actuarial study every 2 years. This $79.9 million is a result of an actuarial that came in this summer. We are required under the funding schedule to fund, not mandated, recommended that we fund, at least in FY14, $2.6 million. We are funding a OPEB obligation of $500,000. That's about 19% of our required contribution. I'd like to say I wish we could contribute more. At some point, this may become a federally mandated requirement that we have to adhere to on a funding schedule, just like we do for our pension liability. But right now, we're putting a value towards this that we can afford, that we can maintain. This is a second-year funding of a long-term plan. And so, as you can see, we have a long way to go. But we are one of a few communities that are even addressing this at this point in time. So this has been recognized as a positive thing by Moody's, even though we're not meeting our required contribution. Mr. Moderator, that concludes my financial presentation. I do have a quick one that I will present to the town meeting voters under Article 2.
Okay, fine. Mr. Kazanovich. Dr. Brunel.
Which one?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good evening, town meeting members, those of you here for the first time tonight, and the veteran members in attendance. Good evening also to the Board of Selectmen, the Finance Committee, the School Committee, certainly to Town Manager Jacobson and CFO Kazanovich. As the proud superintendent of the Auburn Public Schools, it's my pleasure to present to you some slides tonight that highlight how we continue to build on our strengths as a school district. The Auburn Public Schools is committed to excellence and continuous improvement. Those are words that I say and write about often. My intention tonight is to highlight for you some of the activities and initiatives underway that actually breathe life into those words, while also letting you know that we remain committed to our core values, our top priority being our students. One of the most public measures that we look at in terms of school districts in the Commonwealth is how students and schools fare on the MCAS. Recently, they've gone through a slight revision, and we are now assessed based on Progress and Performance Index, the PPI. In short, they look for us to have increased number of students in the advanced and proficient categories and decrease the numbers in needs improvement and warning. I'm happy to report that Auburn students in the most recent administration scored at or above the state average on 16 out of 17 grade level and subject-specific MCAS tests for students scoring advanced and proficient. Almost 50% of our grade levels or subject areas tested in 2013 did exactly what the state is looking for us to do. We increased in the number of advanced and proficient and decreased the number in needs improvement and warning. Looking at rankings across the Commonwealth and the public schools, in 15 out of 24 of those schools, and they're divided by school, by grade level, and by subject, Auburn students scored in the top third. It was some of those same categories scoring in the top 25% when compared to other schools in the same categories. Just a few highlights. If you'll remember, our primary schools are not tested on MCAS, but to highlight some of the successes that we're seeing. At Julia Bancroft School, 53% of the students scored advanced in mathematics, the highest level. At Packagug, the fourth grade students in the English language arts scored in the top 11% when compared to their peers across the Commonwealth. Auburn Middle School students, 88% scored advanced or proficient in the ELA test, with the same being true at the high school level for grade 10, with 95% doing so in English, 89% in math, 84% in science and technology. We have curriculum teams that continue to work. These always include teacher representatives from across the grades as well as administrators. And as you can see here, they represent each and every one of our curriculum areas. We offer and are committed to high-quality professional development. We believe, the school committee and the district as a whole, that building the capacity of our educators does translate into better education and more opportunities for our students. Just some of those which we've been able to offer include both pre-advanced placement and advanced placement trainings, keys to literacy, the flipped classroom, iPads, and co-teaching, our most recent district-wide initiative. We have a strong mentoring and induction program across the district, and this includes not only a mentor-protege component, but also a leadership team component as well. We believe that if we can best support, first bring on and hire the best people that we can, and then to support them so that they stay and add to our capacity as a district, that is a wise investment for us to make. We've increased and continue to do this, our collaboration and communication, not only with our students' families, but with the greater Auburn community. We have the parent portal for our middle and high school students. We've got a standards-based report card. We have family picnics where we bring the community in. We do community service with members of the community. We're regularly featured in both the Auburn News and the Auburn Mass Daily, as well as the local Telegram and Gazette. We have one-call announcements that we send out via telephone and email, and always include information that a special feature which is from the community, for the community, believing that when we work together, we are indeed all the more successful. We have a positive behavior intervention system, PBIS, that takes place from kindergarten through grade 8 with Dr. Poteet working with the high school, always trying to ensure that we're providing an environment in which our students can best learn, work, grow, and thrive. We seek, as does the town, both competitive and entitlement grants, the goal being any grant that we can receive from outside funding thereby reduces the cost to the taxpayers in Auburn. What's listed here is slightly over $800,000 in grants that have been received in this fiscal year alone. The MIMSI initiative, the Massachusetts Mathematics and Science Initiative, is one that is right in line with what we are committed to as a district, which is raising our rigor. Through advanced placement offerings, as you can see, that this school year we have 386 students participating in advanced placement classes. If they earn a score of 3, 4, or 5 on qualifying test, it qualifies them for college credit. Just last year, we had 247 students, which was exemplary, and that the year before we had only 100. So this represents a marked improvement. We now offer 15, and I will show them later, different AP courses as compared to 13 last year and 9 the year prior to that. We promote college and career readiness across all of our schools, even at the kindergarten level, to get kids to start thinking about what it is they want to do and start to plan and prepare for that. We have college seminar that's offered at our high school. We do career fairs. And we also provide college readiness presentations to staff, to parents, and to students. We have an effective integration of technology, a huge priority for us in the district. We currently have an 8th grade iPad pilot program that's in place that is already reaping us great rewards, even in the short time that we've been in school to date. We also have a one-to-one digital learning team that's working at the macro level to discuss this issue and the benefits thereof across the district. As you know, our students, and perhaps all of us, live in a technological world. This is no longer a luxury. This is something that we absolutely need to have for our students. We have polyvision boards, Epson Brightlinks, data projectors, document cameras, and a number of quality software programs and apps that help our students succeed. You've likely read about the new educator evaluation system that was approved by the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education just a couple of years ago. I'm pleased to say that the Auburn teachers and administrators have worked diligently to implement this in a very collaborative nature, and we're currently doing classroom walkthroughs in the district-determined measures, which is really identifying assessments that we can say, are we in fact having the impact on students that we want to and that we are desiring? But in the end, it's always about the conversations. There are lots of forms in the new EdEval system, but it's the conversations about teaching and about learning and how what we're doing as educators is impacting our students. We have, as Town Manager Jacobson and CFO Kazanovich said, we're very pleased to have a strong collaboration with the town, believing that when we work together, it strengthens the team and strengthens the whole community. We have a reciprocal and positive relationship with all town departments. We have a safety advisory team who I'm forever thankful for. We were ahead of the curve when these unthinkable tragedies happen around the United States, with police, fire, and school that work on a regular basis. Our fire department provides CPR and AED training, and we have ongoing collaborative dialogue with the town's administration. STEM is a big focus for us: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, but not at the loss of the arts, I want to assure you, and we continue to add offerings. Auburn Middle School was designated as a STEM academy. Some of you may have seen or read that Governor Patrick and Secretary of Education Malone made a visit earlier this fall to Auburn Middle School to look at the innovation that is taking place there. And data is something that we used in keeping with one of our core values at all levels. Along with all of those things that spoke more to the academic piece, our students continue to shine musically and athletically, winning many local and state competitions, and I'm happy to report, and we're hoping that they will be in our newly constituted from this year marching band. The Rocket Marching Band should have their new uniforms ready for the Thanksgiving Day game, which will be on Tuesday before Thanksgiving. The full-day kindergarten program that was supported by town meeting and the voters helps us, and we are reaping the benefits from that. We have a school resource officer that's dedicated to the schools, thanks to all of you and Chief Slukas. And we have after-school programs as well as clubs that span the grades. This is a listing I had mentioned of the AP courses that we offer. It's a great variety in numerous different areas. Really the goal is to try and whet the appetites of students across the genres. Recent college acceptances, of which I think we all should be proud. This is a listing of just a small number of those. Case Western University, Holy Cross, Texas A&M, American, Fordham, MIT, WPI, and the list goes on and on. As a district, we really believe, this quote actually from an unknown author really epitomizes what it is that we believe, that if we put in place the right conditions, the right teachers, the right support staff, the equipment, the textbooks that's needed, and if we really believe in our students and support them, the sky is the limit, and it does in fact become easier for them to succeed. There are, however, challenges that remain, and in fact I would offer to you that there always will be. The scores of our special education and low-income subgroup currently lag behind the state average, and that is simply not acceptable to us, but it's something that we're really digging in deeply to try and get a handle around. Co-teaching is one way that we believe we'll be able to be successful in that. We're in our second year of it. We're really emphasizing the co-teaching with the special educator and regular educator together, and supporting students in the class with curriculum that may at first appear too challenging for them, but we're supporting them to be successful. I had said earlier that almost 50% of our students actually saw the increase in the proficient and advanced and the decrease in the needs improvement in warning. We want that to be even higher than what it is. And although we're enormously proud of the fact that we have so many of our schools and grades and subjects which are in the top 25% and some even higher, with some in the top third, we want them all to be in the top 25%. And then we're going to want more even when it gets to that. So in the end, the continuous improvement of the Auburn Public Schools is something that we are dedicated to tirelessly, and will continue to work toward that. I would like to take this opportunity to provide a brief update and to certainly say thank you to you again, not only town meeting members, but the Auburn town voters for approving the middle school project. Land was acquired in July. Some preliminary tests have been done on the site, and they have been favorable. And a CM at risk, which is the method that we'll be going through to bid this project, a subcommittee has been formed. We actually put out an RFP and received in and interviewed for 7 construction managers. All of them were of great and high quality. Fontaine Brothers has been selected to build the Auburn Middle School. And some key milestones that they shared with us as part of that application process is that the construction will begin in March. They'll start concrete in April. The steel will be started in June, with the drywall being started in October of 2014. Continuing on to our destination, the field turf will be started in March of 2015, flooring in April. The exterior improvements will take place throughout the spring of 15, and the substantial completion will be on July 7th of 2015, which is well in keeping with opening in the 2015-2016 school year. And again, I reiterate our thanks on behalf of the Auburn School Committee and all of the Auburn students, those that are currently in our schools and those who have yet to walk through our doors, how appreciative we are of the investment that you've made in the students in our district. Another group that we have working is the master plan team. If you'll recall, I believe I shared with you back in May that the master plan team, it's a group of 19 individuals from across the community. It's got representatives from the community and from the schools. And they recommended to the school committee that the current Auburn Middle School, 10 Swanson Road, actually be used to educate the students in grades 3 to 5 in Auburn, and the school committee unanimously accepted that recommendation. They then went forward, and this came after many meetings and months of analysis and review, that the Bryn Mawr and Packagug schools be those still used moving forward once the students move into the current 10 Swanson Road property, that those be used as educational facilities, and that recommendation has likewise been supported unanimously by the school committee. But the master plan team's work continues. We've broken down now into 2 subcommittees, the education subcommittee and existing subcommittee. They're actually symbiotic in nature because the education subcommittee is working to ensure that the setup of the current middle school actually will fit the educational needs, and sharing that with the existing building subcommittee, who in turn are going to make sure that any renovations or modifications needed will actually take place so that students are in an appropriate learning environment. The master plan team, which is chaired by Mr. Rick Ringard, continues its work and intends to have some additional recommendations to the school committee in this spring. And our goal is to open the 10 Swanson Road in the 15-16 school year as well. And then finally, I'd like to just address the articles for the school department. The first one is a request from town meeting to appropriate an additional $12,457.23. This is from Medicaid receipts. Medicaid is reimbursed to the town after services are provided by the school. These services range from, it could be nursing services, it could be occupational therapy, or speech services for Medicaid eligible students. We're requesting this money because we have provided these services and are simply seeking reimbursement respectfully. The second one is for $12,152, seeking your approval of this money, which actually was deposited into the general fund. It did not arrive until after the fiscal year had ended. These were for services provided to homeless students. Our homeless population, fluctuates on a month-to-month, sometimes a day-to-day basis. And if a student becomes homeless in another community and wishes to, from another community, moves to Auburn and wishes to go back to that home community, as it's called, we share 50% in the cost of that. The third article is to reappropriate funding so that way we can put in new LED lights in the gymnasium. Through the combined efforts and working collaboratively with the town through the green energy grant that they were awarded, we were able to put in new lights in many other areas of the high school, but there was not enough funding to do the gym. These lights, Mr. Fahey, our Director of Facilities Extraordinaire, said that they have an extremely long shelf life, 20 to 30 plus years even. And then finally, to seek your approval for $108,750 to purchase 4 iPad carts, along with Bluetooth keyboards. This is an initiative. Currently, we are assessed the MCAS I shared with you at the beginning. On November 19th, Commissioner Chester is intending to make a recommendation to the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education to approve us moving to the PARCC test. Although that vote is not final, obviously, it's 4 weeks or so in the future, our students will be administered a field test. We've been notified of that. Julia Bancroft, Packagug, and Auburn Middle School. The entire PARCC test was designed as an online test to be administered. What they've realized now, the PARCC Commission, is that not all schools are going to be ready to actually administer it electronically and may need to go with a paper and pencil version. Admittedly, though, that disadvantages those students who are taking it in paper and pencil when it was designed to be done online. What this will fund is actually 4 iPad carts, the Bluetooth keyboards that are all in line with the requirements through the PARCC Commission, and I can assure you they will be put to good use each and every day in our schools. We're fortunate to have some in our schools currently, and we're already reaping what we believe to be great results from them. So with that, I will close, and on behalf of the district, and again, I will say as the proud superintendent, I pledged our commitment as a district. It is truly a team effort to continue to work toward educational excellence, and I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brunel. Before we get to Article 2, I note that our state representative, Paul Frost, is here this evening to enjoy our festivities. And now to Article 2. To see if the town meeting will vote to amend Article 2 of the May 7, 2013 annual town meeting as follows. Increase line item 011322-5782 salary wage reserve from $200,000 to $230,000. Increase line item 011992-5740 insurance and bonds from $645,000 to $687,000. Increase line item 013025-569-100 Bay Path from $850,215 to $923,849. Increase line item 01412-5800 road reconstruction from $500,000 to $525,000. Increase line item snow and ice part-time wages 014251-5112 from $12,000 to $25,000. Increase line item snow and ice overtime 0142515130 from $35,000 to $54,000. Increase line item snow and ice equipment rental 014252-5273 from $35,000 to $38,000. Increase line item snow and ice salt and calcium number 014252-5273 from $35,000 to $38,000. Increase line item snow, ice, salt, and calcium number 014252-553302 from $145,000 to $160,000. Increase line item 015411-511101. Director's salary from $44,765 to $53,061. Increase line item number 01543-5770, relief and medical, from $50,000 to $68,000. Reduce line item number 017102-591212, Packagug drainage, from $90,000 to $0. Reduce line item number 017102-591213, sewer route 20, from $45,000 to $0. Reduce line item number 017522-591612, drainage/paving/Packagug, from $34,290 to $0. Reduce line item number 017522-591613, sewer project, Route 20, from $17,145 to $0. Increase line item number 017522591727, general obligation bonds 4.8, from $96,541 to $96,742. Reduce line item number 019101-5175, group health insurance, from $6,200,000 to $5,916,000. Reduce available funds, account number 262103, police towing, from $25,000 to $20,778.40. And further, to approve an amended fiscal year 2014 budget for the town of Auburn of $51,377,717, or act on anything relative thereto. Do I have a motion, Mr. Carpenter?
Carpenter, Precinct 5. Mr. Moderator, I move that we adopt Article 2 as read by the moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Do we have a second? We do have a second. Now, Mr. Kazanovich.
I promise I'll be brief. I know the evening is getting late. I just prepared a summary from the time that we closed the annual town meeting to what we are presenting tonight, what changes took place over that period of time. At the conclusion of the May 7, 2013 town meeting, we had an uncommitted, unobligated balance of $197,270.81. As a result of closing the books for FY13, we fine-tuned our local receipts because they were estimate used at the time we presented the budget to an actual amount, and that change added $35,535.77 to our local receipts revenue portion of the FY14 budget. Cherry sheet state aid, at the time we addressed this at town meeting, that budget was still being worked on by the state. The final numbers resulted in an increase of $122,239. The cherry sheet assessments and offsets that go with the state aid distribution resulted in a decrease to the town of $13,437, making available for supplemental appropriation a total balance of $341,608.58. As you can see at the top of this page, that's our beginning balance. The pluses and minuses under Article 2 result in a net change, a reduction in the operating budget of $223,304. All the other articles have been listed here. This schedule makes an assumption that all these articles as presented get approved, which would result in an unobligated appropriation or balance, uncommitted funds of $1,347.75. This budget would result in a taxation of 1.14% of total levy. That utilizes about $481,000 out of a possible $871,000. Once again, that's a 1.14% increase. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Are there any questions for Mr. Kazanovich? Seeing none, we now are on Article 2. Are there any questions on Article 2? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 2 signify by raising their hands. All those opposed, Article 2 is voted. Article 3. To see if the town meeting will vote to amend Article 11 of the May 7, 2013 annual town meeting and appropriate an additional $12,457.23 from Medicaid receipts within the general fund revenues to the Auburn School Department operating budget for fiscal year 2014 to fund unanticipated services for significantly disabled special needs students and tuitions and transportation for outside placements of special needs students or adaptive equipment, or act on anything relative thereto. Mr. Koski.
Mr. Moderator, Paul Koski, Precinct 1. I would move that the town meeting accept Article 3 as read by the moderator.
All right. Is there a second? There is a second. Are there any questions on Article 3? Seeing none, all those in... is there... yes, Mr. Haroyan. Sorry about that.
Chris Haroyan, Precinct 2. I know this is an additional article. Wasn't this on the spring town meeting? The same article? So how much have we recovered to date, year to date, with that Medicaid funding?
Oh,
It's just more money.
If I may, this article was postponed indefinitely at the annual town meeting because the town was awaiting word from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts as to whether or not this reimbursement would be received. It was part of the state budget. I can tell you that the town has received this exact amount the first week of July. It was deposited in FY14 as a revenue source available for appropriation, and it is allowed to be used as a revenue source to address this request under Article 3 before you tonight.
okay. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 3 signify by raising their hands. All those opposed? Article 3 is voted. Article 4, to see if the town meeting will vote to appropriate $12,152 from general fund revenues to the Auburn School Department operating budget for fiscal year 2014 to fund transportation costs for homeless and/or unanticipated transportation for other students to their educational programs or act on anything relative thereto. Is there a, yes, there is.
Jean Collins, Precinct 5. I move that the town meeting vote to appropriate $12,152 from general fund revenues to the Auburn School Department operating budget for fiscal year 2014 to fund transportation costs for homeless and or unanticipated transportation for other students to their educational programs.
Is there a second? There is a second. Are there any questions? There is a question.
Doug Nelson, Precinct 2. Is this a reimbursement or is this for anticipated potential costs? And the second question is, how many students participate in this? Thank you.
This is a reimbursement. These are for costs that have already been outlaid. I believe last year we had 3 different students that were traveling, one that was traveling quite a distance.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Mr. Bergeron. Mr. Bergeron, the microphone is there, please.
Where do we transport homeless people to?
The law requires that if a child becomes homeless in a particular district and moves to another, we're required to share 50% in the cost if the child chooses in family to return to the home district. So say, for example, if there was a family who lived in Fitchburg and became homeless and was housed temporarily or for however long in Auburn, if the child chose to continue attending the Fitchburg public schools, we would need to transport that child. And this actually came forward, and the school committee advocated that this was creating, in fact, an unfunded mandate. And State Auditor Suzanne Bump agreed with that. This is actually the first year that we've received reimbursement for costs that we had outlaid. These are costs that we've been outlaying for however long the requirement has been in place. But this is actually reimbursing us for costs.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 4 signify by raising their hands. All those opposed, Article 4 is voted. Article 5, to see if the town meeting will vote to amend the CIP program as described in Article 4 of the May 7, 2009 annual town meeting and repurpose the balance of funds of $36,000 originally appropriated to the Julia Bancroft School and $39,000 originally appropriated to the Mary D. Stone School, now to be used for the installation of energy-efficient lighting upgrades to the Auburn High School gymnasium and foyer, with the work to be completed during the fall of 2013, or act on anything relative thereto. Ms. Ethia.
Ellen Ethia, Precinct 5. I move that the town meeting vote to amend the CIP program as described in Article 4 of the May 7th, 2009 annual town meeting and repurpose the balance of funds of $36,000 originally appropriated to the Julia Bancroft School and $39,000 originally appropriated to the Mary D. Stone School, now to be used for the installation of energy-efficient lighting upgrades to the Auburn High School gymnasium and foyer, with the work to be completed during the fall of 2013.
Yes, is there a second? There is a second. Are there any questions? Seeing none, this is a two-thirds vote because it's a borrowing in the original article. So my first question is, are there any opposed to this article? Yes, there is somebody opposed to this article. Therefore, we need to count. Our counters need to come forward and do their duty. So we'll start off with the positive now. All those in favor of this article, please signify by raising their hands. All those opposed to this article, please now signify by raising their hands.
Zero.
Article 5 is voted 86 in favor, 2 opposed. Article 6. To see if the town meeting will vote to appropriate a sum of $108,750 from general fund revenues for the acquisition of 4 iPad carts, 30 iPads per cart, and Bluetooth keyboards to align the district in preparation for the spring of 2014 partnership for the assessment of readiness for college and careers, PARC, field test, and the 2014-2015 implementation of the PARC testing or act on anything relative thereto.
John Bonzi, Precinct 3. I move the town meeting vote to appropriate a sum of $108,750 from the general fund revenues for the acquisition of 4 iPad carts, 30 iPad pads per cart, and Bluetooth keyboards to align the district in preparation for the spring of 2014 partnership for the assessment of readiness for college and careers, PARCC, field test, and the 2014-15 implementation of the PRCC testing.
Is there a second? There is a second. Are there any questions? Yes, Mr. Hammond?
Mike Hammond, Precinct 2. What's the life expectancy of these things? I mean, are they going to be 1 year and then next year you're going to ask for another 120?
We've had some iPads in our schools for 3 years now. I don't know the exact life expectancy of them. I can tell you that this is going to get us so that the students who are taking the field test will be fully equipped. If they eventually move to testing that's agreed to by the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, we'll likely need more in the future, but I couldn't answer that now.
My main question is these things are upgraded every 6 months. So 6 months from now, we're going to say it's out of date. We're going to buy you 120 new ones because it's
dated?
That's not been the case that we've experienced. I agree with you, technology moves that quickly, but we've had them in place for 3 years, and what we've done with other technologies, if we've used it, it's required to be a lot faster and more up-to-date at the high school, and then we filter them down to the younger students to use more simple apps if that was the case.
And my second question would be, is how'd you come up with $100,000? 120 of them at $500 is $60,000.
What we did, we also buy the carts with them so that it's a charging station for them, and the park requires that there be...
Excuse me, $10,000 a cat?
These were prices that were quoted that we get through Apple. So basically, $4,790 for 10 of them, and we have a cart. And we also have to buy the Bluetooth keyboard because the park assessment, currently we don't use the keyboard. Students actually type on there. You can't do that. It has to have an external keyboard device.
I understand that, but the keyboard was separate from the $100,000.
No, that's part of it.
No, it's $108,000 when I add in the keyboards, right?
Well, it's $108,000 total for the...
Right, but the $100,000 that I'm talking about is for the 4 carts and the 120 iPads, which comes to about $833 per iPad, which you can buy an iPad for $500.
Well, I can tell, I mean, through the moderator, if you would like, I mean, our Director of Technology is here and got the quotes for this.
All right. Are there any other questions? Yes? Mr. Nelson?
The person before me asked about the lifespan of the technology. I'm not so worried about that, but I'm more worried about the lifespan of the park testing. Is that not in a pilot test right now?
It is a field test at this point, but as I said, the Commissioner of Education, through recent correspondence on November 9th, will on November 19th recommend to the board that this be approved and that we transition to the park.
Right. And I just read that the town of either Winchester or Woburn, I forget which, just rejected this park test. And the other thing, I was wondering if the students opt out of MCAS, would they then have to take the park, or I guess what I should say, if they opt out, how does that affect the accountability status? And would they still have to take MCAS and the park test?
There are...
You know, it's coming on very suddenly, you know, just kind of dropped in our laps for $100,000. It's a lot of money.
Sure. There are potential options to opt out of MCAS so long as the group of students is taking both the performance-based test and the end-of-year test. We only have one grade level that's assigned to do that right now. The State Department is currently grappling with the issue and looking at different options so that way schools don't lose a year of accountability. That's data that we count on. So it's something that they continue to struggle with.
And again, this is still just a pilot test. This isn't even the full park test. And the states of Georgia and Florida just dropped out of this entirely. So, we need to strongly consider where we're spending our money.
I understand and respect your comments, and I think that, the park test, some states, it is a bit of a political issue at this point now, but we have word that the commissioner is going to recommend going in this direction. My concern is I don't want to put our students at a disadvantage, even if it's for a field test that will ultimately become high stakes.
Okay. Yes, Ms. Calverley?
Thank you. I had gone online to find out more about parks, so educate myself about it. And there was a site, the man was involved with park. He's a Mitchell Chester, and he's got a doctorate in education. All right. There was a sentence in his explanation of it and the way it was to be administered. And I'll just read the sentence, and it says, in the event that some schools will not be ready to administer the assessments online, Park is developing alternatives that will not depend on computers and internet access for their delivery. So that was from him. And I just want to know what.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mitchell Chester is actually the Commissioner of Education in Mass, and he is heavily involved with the park. In fact, I think he's leading the Park Commission. Through all of the meetings and correspondence that we've had with the Department of Ed and even with park commissioners, this test was designed as an online test. What they're doing now is realizing that some schools are having difficulty in providing the necessary technology to do that. So now they're going to a plan B. From their own admission, it actually disadvantages the students because they're not going to be able to take advantage of the multimedia questions that they would see online. You know, I think that there is some talk, you know, future years down the road of coming up with some funding sources that would not be at the local level, but they're nowhere near that level at this point.
Yeah, he just didn't sound as though he was negative about it, so.
I appreciate that. Just recently, we were at something about a week or so ago, and the gentleman speaking, who's from the Park Commission, said, you know, the best option for kids to put them in the best position is to have them take this online. So that's really the position I'm coming from. Thank
Ms.
you.
Ethia?
Ellen Ethia, Precinct 5. Earlier you said that the park test would be administered at JB, Packagug, and the middle school.
Correct.
Do you have technology teachers there?
Exclusive technology teachers we do at the middle school, not at Julia Bancroft or Packagug. We actually have a director of technology that provides support.
Okay. I teach technology at St. Mary's in Shrewsbury. I've been doing that for 14 years now, and I work with kids in first grade through 8th grade. The reason behind my question is this. I'm assuming since keyboards are important, there must be some open response questions.
There will be,
Okay.
yes.
If you get those laptops within the next 6 weeks or so, I'm sorry, iPads, and you want to test in the spring, I don't think it's enough time to get your kids proficient enough in typing. I have strong issues with, you know, what I do with my students. I have kids who, you know, practice at home. I have kids who don't. I have lots of kids who lean on one elbow and type with one finger. I'm not sure the kids will be ready to take it. Is it students in grades 3, 4, and 5, or one particular grade?
It's for the online test, it's 2 classes of students in grades 3 and 2 in grade 5 that will do the online. The others are required to do paper and pencil.
I think it's going to be a far stretch for the 3rd graders without having had, you know, dedicated technology time for, you know, since 2nd grade at least. 5th graders may be a little more proficient in typing, but I think it's going to put some of the kids at a disadvantage. And I think that needs to be considered also.
Sure. I appreciate that. And, you know, most of the kids have become very adept on the iPad itself and not using the traditional methods of typing in, but this is a requirement that we have to adhere to.
I understand that. I have a lot of kids who are pretty proficient with 2 fingers. But I think that, but I have them once a week, and they start and you know, midway through 1st grade. And so by 3rd grade, they've done a lot of work. I just would worry about 3rd graders this spring doing a test that haven't had any formal technology training.
Our goal with getting these in, assuming they're approved by town meeting, to get them purchased right away, and our goal would be to do some training with them, and so that way they have some familiarity with it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Westerland?
I think my question was just answered, the question that I had, because everything that has been said here, I've heard, and I'm saying, okay, why are we pushing off so early? And my question was, we've just seen in Article 2, we've appropriated quite a bit of money that never did get spent, that now we're saying we're saving. This is that phantom funds. And my question is, when were you planning on, with approval of course, spending this $108,000?
We would have a requisition ready tomorrow if approved tonight.
Thank you.
Beside Ms. Ethia?
Mr. Casanova told me I'd have to wait 7 days, so we would do that.
Yes.
Hello, Dr. Brunel. So certainly we want to get these iPads for the park test. However, in your professional opinion, we're not getting them just for the park test. I mean, certainly most school systems are going with iPads. This is what our students need. We're educating for the future. Do you think these are going to be well used by our teachers?
These will be used on a daily basis by multiple students across grade levels without question.
Absolutely. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Mr. Natoli?
Hi, Dennis Natoli, Precinct 1. Just one quick question on the iPads. Which ones are we getting?
We would be getting the most up-to-date version of the iPad. I'm looking
Okay,
back,
is it,
yes.
16, 32, 64 gig? Or is it necessary to have, like a 64 for the students? Or
It
what are we
needs to
getting?
meet specific specifications. I'm just looking to the back. What version?
16?
16.
Okay. It just seems a little high for a 16 gig at that
Okay.
point.
Oh, all right. All those in, yes? Well, it would help if you got your hand up faster.
Whoops. Good evening. First, I want to thank Dr. Brunel for coming to the Board of Selectmen and doing a presentation on this for us, and for the candid answers that she gave when I had questions and other members of the board had questions, as well as tonight. Several of the reasons that I oppose this have been addressed here tonight, but I'd like to add a couple of other things that were not answered. First of all, for something like this that, as Mr. Nelson pointed out, is still in a pilot phase, and other states have found reasons where they feel it's not adequate and are dropping out, I think that to spend this money now on this is not the way to go. Secondly, where it isn't an experimental thing, this is another thing that's kind of being pushed on us by the state, yet with no way to fund it. And Dr. Brunel shared that frustration with me during her presentation. I think that we have to draw the line somewhere. We shouldn't have to continue to find ways to pay for the great ideas from the state that they can't seem to find ways to fund. Some of the other questions that I don't direct answers, adequate answers, I guess I should say. The timeline to implement this wasn't clear. As I said, it was experimental. And as far as the technology, I do have some other issues with the technology. I understand, my daughters are in the Auburn school system, and I realize that using the iPads and technology is their future. There's no way around that. Whether any of us like smartphones or whatever it is their future, and we have to cater to it. So I would rather have a discussion about possibly fulfilling the needs of iPads rather than going this route and using it for an experimental program, because, and maybe some of these questions can get answered. In my experience, 14 years working in the technology industry, I don't know if the testing, if software needs to be preloaded onto these iPads. If that's the case, when it's removed for day-to-day use, I have never seen a system that has been configured for a specific purpose, and when that program is removed, it operates as well as it would have. There's always parts of that program that are left behind. There's other issues with the technology. As far as licensing, will we own all of the licenses for the software? Upgrades, things of that nature, some of those things have been addressed. There's a lot of questions, and it is experimental, and the timeline just doesn't, there's a lot of questions without a lot of answers. So that's why I didn't support it. Like I said, those questions were raised here tonight. I don't know if we can get some of those answered, and I think that was pretty much it. Thanks.
Mr. Anderson?
John Anderson, Precinct 4. One of the things that was said tonight is that are kids capable of using this equipment to take the test? Well, if they had the equipment already, they certainly would. I think the catalyst for this purchase is the park testing, but the need is overwhelming, and our children need to have the best technology at their disposal to be competitive in our very technical world. And this is a good opportunity. This is a tiny, tiny percentage of the town budget, and I think that to miss this opportunity could hurt a little bit with the park testing, but it's not going to hurt with the education of our children. Thank you.
Greg Bowling, Precinct 4. I would just like town meeting to consider that if this motion had not come with the park testing attached to it, how would you consider it, and would you have been in favor of it before you vote? Because I think a lot of discussion has been on whether the test is appropriate, whether students will be ready to take the test, and have kind of ignored the fact that these iPads are going to be used on a daily basis by students across the district and not just for the test purposes.
Mr. Westerman?
Good evening, Kyle Westman, Precinct 1. We're here, everybody's professional to a degree. The iPads and all that, it'd be up to the schools. I got 2 granddaughters, they know more about the iPads and all that. We have to have this stuff in the school, we have the professionals, the teachers, superintendent, and everybody else. My opinion is, I believe we should go along with the people that know what they're doing. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I don't think we need to. Thank you, Norman. All right, all those in favor of Article 6, please signify by raising their hands. All those opposed? Are you a town meeting member? Because if not, you shouldn't be sitting there. Well, then you should be sitting with the town meeting members. I think that it passed, but since there are people who voted against it, let's count. The counters are getting bored just sitting, not counting. All right, all those in favor, please signify by raising their hands.
Okay, you in favor? Yes, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
25.
All those opposed now, please signify by raising their hands. Article 6 is voted 80 to 10. Article 7, to see if the town meeting will vote to amend CIP Article 3 of the May 1st, 2012 annual town meeting as follows. Amend the balance of funds of $6,203, account number 30202013, I think -581334, voting booths, to fund storage, shelving, and file cabinets needs of the clerk's office and the vault, or act on anything relative thereto. Yes, Mr. Hamel.
Joe Hamel, Precinct 5. I move that the town meeting vote to amend CIP Article 3 of the May 1st, 2012 annual town meeting as follows. Delete the balance of $6,203.00 for voting booths, account number 302013581334, and add $6,203.00 for storage, shelving, file cabinets for the town clerk's office and vault.
Is there a second? There is a second. Are there any questions? Seeing none, this is again, since it's originally a borrowing article, we have to have a 2/3 vote, so I will ask, are there any objections to this article? I see no objections to this article, therefore, all those in favor of this article signify by raising their hands. The article is voted unanimously. Thank you. Article 8. To see if the town meeting will vote to appropriate $25,000 from general fund revenues for window replacement at the Auburn Police Station or act on anything relative thereto. Yes, ma'am.
Ellen Ganley, Precinct 4. I move that the town meeting vote to appropriate $25,000 from the general fund revenues for window replacement at the Auburn Police Station.
Is there a second? There is a second. Chief Slucas, I guess you'd like to tell people why.
Well, I'll be brief, Mr. Moderator. Thank you. As Mr. Hussey alluded to at the beginning of his presentation, there are some issues that we are currently experiencing at the police department. I brought along some of the slides of some of the windows that need to be replaced. These are obviously some of our more problematic windows, but we have issues with cracked, warped, and rotted windows. These are wooden windows that were initially put in when the building was built 13 years ago. Actually, vinyl is obviously what should have been put in place. That's what we're going to be replacing this with. We've solicited some different bids. We've received bids anywhere from $25,000 to $29,000. The bit of good news, I guess, would be is that the town's facilities maintenance division is going to be able to do all of this work, which will, in essence, save us approximately $25,000.
Okay, are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of this article signify by raising their hands. All those opposed, the article is voted.
Thank you.
Article 9. To see if the town meeting will vote to amend Article 9 of the October 2011 Fall Town Meeting as follows. Delete the balance of $34,956 ambulance refurb and to amend Article 3 of the May 7, 2013 annual town meeting as follows. Delete the balance of $7,569.83. Replace ambulance 1 for a total of $42,525.83 for replace fire department service truck in fiscal year 2003, or act on anything relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, William Byland, Precinct 2, Article 9. I move that the town meeting vote to amend Article 9 of the October 2011 Fall Town Meeting as follows. Delete the balance of $34,956 ambulance refurb and to amend Article 3 of the May 7th, 2013 annual town meeting as follows. Delete the balance of $7,569.83. Replace ambulance 1 and add $42,525.83 for replace fire department service truck in fiscal year 2014.
All right. Is there a second? There is a second. Are there any questions? Seeing none, this again is that a question, Mr. Hammond?
Mike Hammond, Precinct 2. The fire department, we're eliminating all this other money for the ambulances, so that's all been taken care of, I guess?
Chief Coleman?
Good evening, Mr. Moderator, thank you. Yes, the ambulance 2 refurb, which is the leftover money from of $34,956, we were able to negotiate some rebates with Ford, and we were able to come up with some significant savings. So the $34,000 is the balance of that project. Ambulance 2 has been refurbed and is on the road. Last year at the May town meeting authorized the replacement of Ambulance 1, again through some additional Ford rebates and some negotiations that came in less, so $7,500 is the balance. The brand new Ambulance 1 is on the road and in service.
All right.
So what fire department service truck are we replacing? And what's it used for, and why are we replacing it?
Sure, again, through the moderator. The vehicle that I am seeking to replace is a 1999 Ford F-350. It's 15 years old. 4 years ago, the vehicle was repainted by Bay Path High School to take care of some significant rust and rot issues that we had on the vehicle. That rust and rot is starting to show through the vehicle again. The vehicle is used for towing the various trailers that we have within the department, including the, I'm sure some of you have seen it, the large safe house that we have from the district that we pull around. This year, we were pulling that safe trailer to one of the events, and the trailer actually came loose from the vehicle because the tow hitch fell off the back of the vehicle due to rot. Our DPW has done a great job trying to weld it back together, but I still do have some concerns with its towing capacity. This vehicle is also used to tow the district assets that we have available to us relative to foam trailers, and air and light units and things of that nature. The vehicle has 53,755 road miles on it, but you also have to take into consideration the idling hours that the vehicle has on it. So the vehicle does have, between idling hours, about 190,360 miles on it.
How do you know how many idling hours you have on the vehicle, and why aren't we shutting them off?
Ford Motor Company, through their equations, state that for every 1 hour that a vehicle runs, it is the equivalent of 25 road miles. The real answer to the question is we do not have any idea how much the vehicle is actually idle. The nature in what we do in emergency services, when we arrive on a scene, we don't shut vehicles off. They power the emergency lights, they power our radio communication systems. So I conservatively estimate that the vehicle runs, this particular vehicle is on the road 7 days a week. I conservatively estimate that it idles for 1 hour a day. When you run the math out, that's how I come up with the idling hours. Again, I believe it's conservative.
You're certainly overwhelming number of questions here.
Just one more question. The next article is going to concern the Chevy Tahoe, I believe. Is the Chevy Tahoe capable of doing any of those? Could we put that in service for that and just buy one vehicle instead of two?
This Chevy Tahoe does have towing capacity. It does not have the towing capacity necessary to tow the large safe house, but it certainly does have towing capacity for boats and things. Mr. Moderator, if you don't mind, just to address the issues in Article 10, because they're similar in nature.
All right.
The vehicle in Article 10 that I am seeking to replace is a 2002 Chevy Tahoe. The vehicle is 12 years old. That vehicle has 91,311 road miles. And similar to what I had stated about the idling hours, again, conservative, is 109,500. So I estimate conservatively that the engine has 200,811 miles on it. This vehicle is used on a daily basis, again, 7 days a week, by our on-duty captain or lieutenant. It's the shift supervisor vehicle. The two major concerns that I have with this vehicle are there is an electrical problem with the vehicle that our DPW fleet maintenance or Chevy cannot diagnose. So essentially what happens is at night, although the headlights function properly, there is no interior illumination in the vehicle because none of the dash components work. So the dashboard doesn't work, the clock radio doesn't work, there's no illumination, so the vehicle is pitch black. I personally have an issue with that. We can't use any of the instrumentation that's designed on the vehicle at night. The second issue is the doors do not close properly. The vehicle is, again, 12 years old. When the driver's door opens, you can see that it has a drop on it. The receivers where the pins drop into the door hinge are egg-shaped due to its age. The doors are heavy. This year alone, the DPW Fleet Maintenance Division replaced the door pins 3 times on the vehicle. It's chewing through door pins, so the door does not actually close properly. So again, this vehicle is 12 years old. Both of these vehicles are on the road 7 days a week. They have served the department well. They certainly, owe us nothing. For those reasons, that's why I'm asking town meeting to approve these purchases. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Are there any other questions on Article 9? Seeing none, this is again one of those two-thirds votes, so I will ask, does anybody not approve of Article 9? Does anybody oppose Article 9? Seeing no opposition, all those in favor of Article 9 signify by raising their hands. It is voted unanimously. Article 10. To see if the town meeting will vote to appropriate $39,770 from general fund revenues to replace the shift commander vehicle in the fire rescue department or act on anything relative thereto. Yes, sir.
David Kamasi, Precinct 1. I move that the town meeting vote to appropriate $39,770 from general fund revenues to replace the shift commander vehicle in the fire rescue department.
Is there a second? There is a second. Are there any questions? Seeing no questions, all those in favor of Article 10 signify by raising their hands. All those opposed, Article 10 is voted. Article 11. To see if the town meeting will vote to approve the additional funding of $20,000 to supplement identified monies to allow the Board of Health to conduct a household hazardous waste collection day in the spring of 2014 or act on anything relative thereto. Yes, sir.
Daniel Diamond, Precinct 5. I move that the town meeting vote to appropriate $20,000 from general fund revenues to supplement previous appropriations to allow the Board of Health to conduct a household hazardous waste collection day in the spring of 2014.
Okay. Is there a second? There are seconds. Are there questions? Yes, sir. Mr. Olson?
Charles Olson, Precinct 2. I'm just wondering, like, when you say 20,000, it's not going to be exactly 20,000, so what happens to the rest of the money?
Mr. Kazanovich, do you have an answer? Does somebody? Oh, all right, yes.
I'll field this one. Because it is an outside article, if the full amount of money is not spent, the remaining balance can be set aside, requested to be carried over, and can be used for the same purpose that it was voted for. Otherwise, if it's not needed, it will close out to free cash at the end of the fiscal year.
We don't have to vote again to reappropriate.
No.
Okay, are there any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of this article signify by raising their hands. All those opposed, the article is voted. Article 12. To see if the town meeting will vote to appropriate $41,000, of which $37,000 will be from general fund revenues to purchase and install two-way radios in DPW buildings, vehicles, town hall, and police dispatch area, and further to appropriate $4,000 from sewer retained earnings to purchase and install two-way radios in sewer vehicles, sewer office, and to relicense the in-track alarm data channel or act on anything relative thereto.
Mr. Moderator, Greg Bowling, Precinct 4. I move that the town meeting vote to appropriate $41,000, of which $37,000 will be from general fund revenues to purchase and install two-way radios in DPW buildings, vehicles, town hall, and police dispatch area, and to further appropriate $4,000 from sewer retained earnings to purchase and install two-way radios in sewer vehicles, sewer office, and to relicense the Intract alarm data channel.
Is there a second? There is a second. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 12 signify by raising their hands. All those opposed, Article 12 is voted. Article 13, to see if the town meeting will vote to appropriate $7,096 from 2013 State Hurricane Irene account number 2510313 to purchase plow equipment for two DPW vehicles or act on anything relative thereto. Yes, ma'am.
Gina Skog, Precinct 4. I move that the town meeting vote to appropriate $7,096 from 2013's State Hurricane Irene account number 2510313 to purchase plow equipment for two DPW vehicles.
All right, is there a second? There is a second. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Article 13 signify by raising their hands. All those opposed, Article 13 is voted. Article 14. To see if the town meeting will vote to appropriate $22,000 from sewer retained earnings to replace a pump and perform repairs on the jetpack truck or act on anything relative thereto. Mr. Westerland.
Mr. Moderator, Bill Westerland, Precinct 1. I move that the town meeting vote to appropriate $22,000 from the sewer retained earnings to replace a pump and perform repairs on the jet truck.
Is there a second? There is a second. Are there any, Bill, excuse me, could you give it to Ellen? Are there any questions? Mr. Westerland.
No question, just a comment. I checked on this very deeply, and I understand we're in big trouble if we don't replace that.
Okay, yes, I'm sure you're right. Okay, there are no other questions, statements? Okay, all those in favor of Article 14 signify by raising their hands. All those opposed, Article 14 is voted. Moving along, Article 15. To see if the town meeting will vote to appropriate $4,300 from the expendable trust / cemetery perpetual care account to purchase a new roll-around canvas tent with tow package for the Department of Public Works, Parks, Recreation, and Cemetery, or act on anything relative thereto. Ms. Holstrom.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town meeting vote to appropriate $4,300 from the expendable trust cemetery perpetual care account to purchase a new roll-around canvas tent with tow package for the Department of Public Works, Park, Recreation, and Cemetery.
Is there a second? I see seconds. Are there any questions? I see Mr. Westerland.
Thank you, Bill Westland, Precinct 1. The following four articles, I'm just questioning the way they're worded. I'm going to just state, in yesteryear, we used to have a cemetery commissioner, and when we donated our funds that went into this trust fund, the only way it could come out was through that process. I have talked with the director of the DPW, and he assures me that the way this is worded, that what the request to take money out of the fund now goes through the town manager, and I'd just like to understand what that procedure is to define anything we approve with money coming out of the perpetual trust fund being spent on anything stays within the cemetery. Thank you very much.
Ed, do you need to answer that? Actually, I wanted to know what a roll-around tent was, but anyway. Go.
I believe this question was raised at a previous town meeting. I can assure you that the equipment will remain within the confines of the cemetery department. It is worded this way as a result of the new charter. The Parks, Recreation, and Cemetery is one division under DPW. If you look at the warrant, we highlighted the word cemetery because clearly those funds can only be used, perpetual care monies, expendable trust fund account monies can only be used for cemetery-related purposes as an offset to the operating budget.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Westerland?
Just as a follow-up, so the request would come from the chief of the DPW to the town manager, and the town manager would approve that before those funds can be spent. That's what I'm hearing? Well, or what is the procedure?
If approved, the request would begin and start with Wayne Bloomquist, who oversees the division. So he would be allowed to sign the PO with the approval of the Mr. Coyle, who is the head of DPW.
Okay.
DPW director.
So the town manager is not the final approval of...
If and only if the purchase is in excess of $5,000, the town manager would sign off on it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 15, please signify by raising their hands. All those opposed? Article 15 is voted. Article 16, to see if the town meeting will vote to appropriate $2,340 from the expendable trust / cemetery perpetual care account to purchase a lowering device for the Department of Public Works, Parks, Recreation, and Cemetery, or act on anything relative thereto. Mr. Stenzel.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town meeting vote to appropriate $2,340 from the expendable trust cemetery perpetual care account to purchase a lowering device for the Department of Public Works, Parks, Recreation, and Cemetery.
Is there a second? There is a second. Are there any questions? Seeing no questions, all those in favor of Article 16 signify by raising their hands. All those opposed, Article 16 is voted. Article 17. To see if the town meeting will vote to appropriate $350 from the expendable trust / cemetery perpetual care account to purchase artificial greens for the Department of Public Works, Parks, Recreation, and Cemetery, or act on anything relative thereto. Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Jeff Mitchell, Precinct 3. I like reading the most expensive articles on the warrant. I move that the town meeting vote to appropriate $350 from the expendable trust cemetery perpetual care account to purchase artificial greens for the Department of Public Works, Parks, Recreation, and Cemetery.
Is there a second? There is a second. Are there any questions? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 17 signify by raising their hands. All those opposed? Article 17 is voted. Article 18. To see if the town meeting will vote to appropriate $500 from the expendable trust / cemetery perpetual care account to purchase aluminum staging planks for the Department of Public Works, Parks, Recreation, and Cemetery, or act on anything relative thereto.
Wayne Bloomquist, Precinct 1. I move that the town meeting vote to appropriate $500 from the expendable trust / cemetery perpetual care account to purchase aluminum staging planks for the Department of Public Works, Parks, Recreation, and Cemetery.
Is there a second? There is a second. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 18 signify by raising their hands. All those opposed, raise their hands. Article 18 is voted. Article 19. To see if the town meeting will vote to appropriate $20,000, of which $13,612 will be from the October 2011 MEMA snowstorm and $2,174 from the state 2012 flood relief account number 251220012 and $4,214 from general fund revenues to purchase 2 Cyrus closed spreader control systems or act on anything relative thereto. Yes, do I have a motion? No, I mean somebody has the motion. Yes, please.
Marty Kopka, Precinct 1. I move that the town meeting vote to appropriate $20,000, of which $13,612 will be from the October 2011 MEMA snowstorm and $2,174 from the state 2012 flood relief account 251220012 and $4,214 from the general fund revenue to purchase 2 citrus closed spreader control systems.
Okay. Is there a second? There is a second. Are there any questions? Mr. Westerland.
Bill Weston, Precinct 1. I guess my question to the DPW director is pure and simple. What is the offset of the investments? And I'm told environmental, which I understand. The other side of it was there is a great, a cost benefit. I'd like to understand how that works. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Coyle is coming.
Good evening, Bill Coyle. Mr. Moderator, the Cyrus unit is a computerized program that allows us to automate our salting process. So when the trucks are treating the roadways, rather than depending on the manual operations of the truck driver, we will be able to set a constant rate of application, so as the vehicle slows and speeds up, the application rate of the salt will change as well, not only reducing potential impacts to the environment, but also a savings on the amount of salt and sand usage. The state DOT snow and ice engineer that I spoke with estimates about a 10 to 20% reduction in the amount of material that they've seen with the use of this equipment. So rough estimates, if we were to use approximately 2,000 tons of salt per year, we would save somewhere between 200 to 400 tons of salt per year at a cost of about $70 to $75 per ton. So it'll be significant savings over time.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 19 signify by raising their hands. All those opposed? Article 19 is voted. Article 20. To see if the town meeting will vote to appropriate a sum of money from general fund revenues to the stabilization fund or act on anything relative thereto. Mr. Frost.
Ken Frost, Precinct 4. I move that the town meeting vote to appropriate $300,000 from the general fund revenues to the stabilization fund.
Is there a second? There are. Are there any questions? Mr. Westerland.
It's been a while since I've been involved in this, but the last time I had anything written down, the stabilization fund had some $1,200,000 and some odd dollars. I'd like to know how much money is in there now and maybe forecast long range as to what the intention is other than to help our borrowing rate go down. Thank you.
Mr. Westerland, as of June 30th, the balance in the stabilization account was $2,289,807. $2,289,807. At the annual town meeting in May for FY14, town meeting approved a article to reduce stabilization by $325,000 for the purchase of 6 acres of land for the middle school project. So the balance as of June 30th, less 325, plus a request of $300,000 tonight, would bring that up to a balance of $2,264,806.97, not including any return on the investment that we realized effective July 1 to present. So this money is invested, we are getting a return, it is accruing interest on a daily basis. In terms of utilization of these funds in the long term, outside of our intent to build that up for a potential bond rating upgrade, I can tell you that we've had discussions about utilizing a portion of this for the purchase of a replacement tower truck in the fire department. The replacement of that truck is upwards of $1 million. We are considering a number of options that would allow a portion of that to be paid through the stabilization, with the remaining balance to be financed through the CIP plan. Too early to say. We are reviewing the CIP plan currently. Those requests were due in a couple of weeks ago. That's something we will be addressing shortly after the conclusion of this town meeting.
Mr. Olson, Ed's time.
Charles Olson, Precinct 2. So again, what is the, is there a percent that you're looking for this fund? Because I think it was a little bit below, it was like 4 point something, you want to be 5 or something.
Yes, we're targeting a roughly 5% of the town's general fund operating revenues. The balance after tonight, if this article should get approved, would put us at 4.11%. Just shy of 1% of our targeted goal. That seems to be a standard that Moody's is looking for, and that's why we put a benchmark of that percentage.
Are there any other questions? Yes, Mr. Nelson?
Doug Nelson, Precinct 2. First of all, I just want to commend Ed and the Finance Committee and everybody for the way they're running the town's finances and getting us these good ratings with Moody's. You know, great job. One thing, though, the OPEB is a liability that's hanging behind us. It's the elephant in the room that nobody's talking about. And I think we discussed in May there was going to be some money based on some estimations from the state that we could put into that and go higher. I'm just wondering whether, you know, what Moody's thinks of that, putting this into stabilization versus putting more of that towards the OPEB. And how that might, it would still affect our bond rating, but pay down that liability that's hanging out there right now. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. First of all, I just want to acknowledge that the financial gains we have made over the past several years would not have been possible without the collaboration of all the town department heads and the division heads, and I'd like to thank each and every one of you for that, as well as school administration, Superintendent Brunel, as well as Peter Gray, and the entire administration have really sacrificed over the last several years in order to make this happen. And it's put the town in a position of good standing, and we want to continue to strive towards those benchmarks that hopefully will result in savings to each and every taxpayer of this community. That's our ultimate goal. We have received some positive feedback from Moody's as a result of our contributing towards OPEB. Even though we're not meeting our annual rate of contribution, we are able to maintain a level of funding that is going there on an annual basis, and it is part of the annual operating budget. So that has some positive impact on the town's position, as well as Moody's review of that movement forward as well.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 20, please signify by raising their hands. All those opposed? Article 20 is voted. Article 21, to see if the town meeting will vote to amend Article 36 of the May 7, 2013 annual town meeting as follows. Roof replacement from $115,000 to $175,000. Window blind replacements from $60,000 to $25,000. Carpet, flooring, shelving move from $25,000 to $37,500. Resurface parking lot from $25,000 to zero. Interior painting from $25,000 to $12,500, or act on anything relative thereto.
Mr. Moderator, Mary Ellen Paquette, Precinct 2. I move that the town meeting vote to amend Article 36 of the May 7th, 2013 annual town meeting as follows. Roof replacement from $115,000 to $175,000. Window blind replacement from $60,000 to $25,000. Carpet, flooring, shelving move from $25,000 to $37,500. Resurface parking lot from $25,000 to zero. Interior painting from $25,000 to $12,500.
Is there a second? There is a second. Dr. Toth will explain what's happening.
I have pages of explanation, but it's getting late. Before the May town meeting, we had to get estimates for these projects at the library. We couldn't really go for bids. And after your approval of that transfer of that $250,000, we were able to go and get bids. And we were told to do the upper as well as the lower roof, since both of them were equally as old and both could be potentially troublesome. So we did go out to bid. The bids came back, and we have to ask for $175,000 for the roof and change some of the other items on the list, reducing them. I think the most important thing is that both roofs will be done for that $175,000, and then the work that we do on the rest of the building will be safe. Diane, I don't know if there's anything that you wanted to add to that. Diane Ramsey, Director of the Library.
All right, Ms. Ramsey.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you, Mr. Moderator. I just would like to emphasize again that our primary goal in this work being done on the library has been all along the roof. We have had serious leaking in the building, and we have been advised that the most efficient use of this money is to do both roofs at one time. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, this is again a 2/3 because it was a borrowing. I will ask, are there any in opposition? Please raise their hand. I see no one in opposition. Therefore, all those in favor of this article, please raise their hand. The article is voted unanimously. Article 22, to see if the town meeting will vote to appropriate $35,000 from overlay surplus for the purchase, equipping, and marking of 2 vehicles for use in the execution of town business, or act on anything relevant thereto. Ms. Pappas.
Hi, Kristen Pappas, Precinct 5. I move the town meeting vote to appropriate $35,000 from the overlay surplus for the purchase, equipping, and marking the 2 vehicles for use and execution of the town business.
Or is there a second? Excuse me, Christine. Yeah. Is there a second? There is a second. Are there any questions? Yes, Mr. Platoukis.
Are these emergency vehicles?
I have no idea who's doing, Director of Development, here comes Adam to give you the answers you seek.
I guess technically they could be used as emergency vehicles. They will not, they're not intended as emergency vehicles, they're inspection vehicles.
So they're not emergency vehicles?
They are not.
Thank you. Second question, what kind of vehicles are you buying?
We are looking at either the Chevy Sonic, I think, or the Ford. I'm not sure if it's the Focus or the other one. It's a compact car. I believe the two that we looked at were 29 city, upwards of 38 highway. So they meet the EPA requirements under green communities.
And is there green community grant money available to pay for these?
There is not.
The choice of the two vehicles concerns me. There are many vehicles out there that are 20 to 40% more efficient than these and have a longer shelf life, and I think we should do more research or take suggestions. I drive a Prius that has 230,000 miles on it. I get 45 miles per gallon in the city or outside the city. If you look at the research recently done on the Focus, the normal Focus in town would get about 25, 26, 27 miles per gallon, which is about 20 miles less than an old Prius. There are secondhand Priuses available at the same price that I think would be a much better deal and would save the taxpayers a lot more money, up to 40% on gas mileage.
Mr. Moderator, to the town meeting, we haven't finalized the vehicle. We've been looking at keeping below $15,000 for the price of the vehicle. The vehicles that we've looked at are state bid list quoted prices. The Prius is at least 25% more list price on the state bid list. So it's a matter of upfront operational cost. Doing the math on a conventional combustion vehicle compared to paying out mileage at 15.5 cents per mile, the savings on these vehicles is realized within the first year. So I think that I understand Mr. Pladukas' point. There is value to hybrid vehicles. The upfront cost of a hybrid vehicle precludes us, in my opinion, as well. Secondary vehicles or second use vehicles, I don't believe are an option for the town based on longevity, liability. We expect that these vehicles will be in service for 10 years based on the limited amount of miles they travel annually. So I think that, with all due respect, the research was done. Again, we haven't finalized which vehicle. We're looking at a compact vehicle, American-made, from the state bid list.
Respectfully, I disagree. If I
All right, well, you've had about 4 questions. Mr. Olson.
Okay. So I just wanted to get something clear. So this is 2 vehicles for $35,000.
Yes, it is. It's 2 vehicles. It's
That's
purchase,
a pretty good deal, I think.
It's purchase, equipping, and marking. So these vehicles they'll have the blue plates. They will have town seals. One vehicle will be used by the assessing department, one by the inspectional services. Many of you have had your home assessed, seen the person in your neighborhood. This will clearly identify who's creeping around your house. If it doesn't have a seal on the side, you can kind of then say, hey, there's a weird vehicle in my neighborhood. Somebody pulls up, there's seals on the side. You have some confidence that they're a town official.
Okay. Mr. Pladukas, I really don't think we can get into a long debate on who should buy what. I mean, the question is, do we wish to appropriate $35,000? There's nothing on here about what vehicle it is or what it does or who loves it or anything else. Mr. Pladukas.
Respectfully, sir, I'm just trying to save money for the taxpayers. Is there something against buying a used one? Is that not allowed? Is a 2010, 2011 Prius would fall into that category and get you 55 miles per gallon, which is almost double the mileage.
Mr. Moderator, my understanding would be that if we were to purchase used vehicles, the cost is going to be in the range where we would be looking at an RFP. It's a bidding process. There's some reasonable expectation that we may not find what we're looking for. Plus, we're buying the liability of a used vehicle, unknown condition, unknown maintenance history. With purchasing new from a frontline dealer off the state bid list, we're getting a guaranteed price. We're getting a brand new car under warranty that we have some expectation that at least in the first 3 to 5 years, any major issues should be covered under that warranty.
Okay. Mr. Kosky, you have a question?
Paul Kosky, Precinct 1. Adam, how many miles per year do you put on these vehicles?
It's hard to say, being that we haven't had a inspection vehicle for a full year. We have 4 inspectors in my office. We spend almost $10,000 a year on mileage. I know that the assessor spends quite a bit on mileage based on doing valuation, someone being in the field most days. I don't expect it would be more than 5,000 to 7,000 actual vehicle miles a year. Unlike the fire department, we're generally not responding to emergencies. We're driving to a location, the vehicle's being parked, so the idling miles shouldn't add up as much. Clearly, there'll be times when the building inspector may respond to an emergency, a building collapse, a fire, and the vehicle may idle, but in general, it will be a destination trip. It won't be a quick response where there's an issue where somebody has to run out of the vehicle and leave it idling.
So actually, the mileage is so small that the gas savings is going to be insignificant. And if they're new cars, they're going to last 10 years. I don't see why we can't spend that amount of money. My Lincoln gets 30 miles to the gallon on the highway.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Mr. Nelson.
Are these 2 vehicles going to be in use at the same time all the time, or would it make sense to perhaps have one shared vehicle which could be signed out? Another thing I might note is the fire department has 2 vehicles which you might be able to use as long as you don't drive them at night or tow anything.
I'll take the first question first. They will be in use at the same time. As I said, Inspectional Services currently has 4 inspectors. There's 2 health inspectors and 2 building inspectors. So at any one time, at least 2 of them are in the field. So that vehicle would be out pretty much every day. The assessing department does spend quite a bit of time out in the field. And quite honestly, I believe that on days when they're not in the field, they may look to share that with our department and offer us the ability to have 2 inspectors using town-marked vehicles as opposed to personal vehicles where we're paying mileage. And as far as the fire department vehicles, the exchange of those is difficult under green communities based on mileage.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 22, please signify by raising their hands. All those opposed? Article 22 is voted. Article 22 is voted. Article 23, to see if the town meeting will vote to accept Camden Drive as a public way or act on anything relative thereto. Mr. Olson?
Charles Olson, Precinct 2 again. I move that the town meeting vote to accept Camden Drive as a public way from Brook Street to the end of Camden Drive for a total distance of approximately 1,580 feet, as shown on a plan prepared by Alan F. Page entitled Definitive Plan of Open Space Development, quote, Camden Woods, Auburn, Massachusetts, dated February 10th, 2004, last revised September 20th, 2005, and recorded at the Worcester District Registry of Deeds, Plan Book 835, Plan 61, and on plan prepared by Burton Engineering Associates, Inc., entitled A&R Plan of Land Owned by Jeffrey J. Boisclair, all right, located at Brook Street, Auburn, Mass. 01501, dated May 12, 2006, and recorded at the Worcester District Registry of Deeds, Plan Book 865, Plan 86.
Is there a second? There is a second. Are there any questions? Yes? Ms. Holstrom?
Mr. Moderator, what is the planning board's recommendation on this article?
Mr. Burney?
Just 3.5 hours ago, the planning board voted to discharge the subdivision tri-party agreement on this and is in agreement that it is at status that town meeting can move to accept.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, Mr. Simonian?
Just one, there were some concerns that were raised at the Board of Selectmen meetings regarding the agreement with Mr. Boisclair. All those issues that were raised are resolved. And I know that the town had questions as well as members of the Board of Selectmen, so I just want...
They've been resolved to a point that it can move forward. There is an agreement between the town and Mr. Boisclair for the completion of some of the sewer work on Brook Street, which is a public street and the town already has control of. We've accepted a sum of money and signed an agreement between the town and Mr. Boisclair that that work would be done with the money that we've held. It's a certified bank check. It's not, you know, mysterious money. And I think that would clear up some of Mr. Holstrom's concerns about the ability of people on Brook Street to find those sewer ties. It's to complete some of the work with the sewer laterals that exist.
Fair enough, thanks. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 23, please signify by raising their hands. All those opposed? Article 23 is voted. Article 24, to see if the town meeting will vote to convey a parcel of land parcel of town-owned property, located at the corner of Rochdale and Burnett Streets, map 16, parcel 20, to a qualified abutter or act on anything relative thereto. Yes, sir.
Joe Martin, Precinct 2. I move that the town meeting vote to convey a parcel of town-owned property located at the corner of Rochdale and Burnett Streets, map 16, parcel 20, to a qualified abutter.
Is there a second? There is a second. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 24 signify by raising their hands. All those opposed? Article 24 is voted. Article 25, to see if the town meeting will vote to authorize the town manager to enter into a long-term lease agreement for Camp Gleason for a term not to exceed 20 years or act on anything relative thereto. Mr. Carpenter?
Mr. Moderator, Dan Carpenter, Precinct 5. I move that this article be postponed indefinitely.
All right, the motion is to move postpone indefinitely. Is there a second to that motion? All those in favor of postponing indefinitely? All those opposed? The article is postponed indefinitely. And a motion now to dissolve this meeting? And all, second, all those in favor? The meeting is dissolved with thanks. Thank you.